Welcome to yet another episode of All Tech. Now we've got a very fascinating topic for you guys today. So people keep talking about driverless cars and AI and how it's going to change the world and just keep throwing buzzwords at you. But no one talks about the actual underlying problems that goes into building one of these systems. So sure, you need the coders to build the AI, you need the coders to build driverless programs. But what about the actual bits that you need to create a driverless car? I mean, you need parts that can protect you from outside problems. So in a car, for example, you get a car that can drive without any problems, without any drivers, it fixed properly on the road, it sticks to a speed limit, doesn't hit anyone. But how do you stop someone from hacking into your car? I mean, this happened in 2015 in a cybersecurity test for Chevy, where some benign hackers hacked into a car, and just to show that you could. So you need specialist hardware to get around that. And that's why we're talking to Sanjay Gupta, VP and India Director for NXP Semiconductors today. Hey Sanjay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
So Sanjay, let's get straight into it. What is the differences you need? Like today's cars, have they got enough infrastructure to build driverless cars? Do you need new parts? What's the problem here?
Okay, so I would say we are deep into the research and development for driverless car for close to 1 decade now already. But automotive world is a little different word. So before the actual cars come on road with all the new facets that we have planned, it is a long cycle where everything goes through a very detailed design cycle, a validation cycle at semiconductors houses, and then it goes into tier ones and OEMs. And each one of them does a very thorough testing, because when we talk about automotive, we talk about human beings and their safety and security. And we have a famous buzzword, zero defect, to ensure there's a zero fatalities on roads. So hence, to answer your question, yes, there's a huge R&D that is happening for many companies, including ours, for more than a decade now. But the real cars with everything inside will still take some time before we have driverless cars running around the world seamlessly as we have the current cars.
Okay. So Sanjay, can you just walk me through what exactly are the bits of a driverless car that can be hacked? Now we all talk about, okay, the IoT, Internet things, the world's becoming more connected. You can play music on your car by choosing on your phone. But are these actually points that can be hacked by people who want to do something nefarious?
Sure. So this is a very important point that you have asked, and in fact, I would say this is actually at the heart of whatever we are doing within NXP Semiconductors. When we talk about our driverless car, right? Let me quickly give you an analogy in 30 seconds about what we are talking about. A driverless car is nothing but a robot on wheels, which will replicate not just the traditional components of automotive, but also a lot of components that human being represent today, including our eyes, ears, and brain. And when we talk about driverless car, we're trying to replicate everything. And this just fascinates that what innovation that are lying in front of us to replicate a human brain, which I consider is one of the most sophisticated creation by some supernatural power. Now, as humans, when we are trying to replicate it, right, there are 5 different segments, broadly speaking, that will be designed in a car architecture, and that will enable it. Very short, 3 traditional domains and 2 new domains that will make it happen. The 3 traditional domains are the powertrain domain, the body and chassis domain, and the infotainment domain, which is recently a new one, like it's less than a couple of decades old, where we want to have the entire infotainment and the audio video connectivity, the GPS connectivity. But the 2 new domains which will make it happen, the 4th one is how to replace the driver itself, where we are trying to have very advanced sensors using cameras and using radar to replicate what human eyes can see, and then replicating human brain by something called data fusion, where very advanced level of computation and decision making abilities, which are both experiential learning as well as the fast processing, to create some kind of AI based deep learning and algorithm based sophisticated algorithms, which will be running on supercomputers kind of infrastructure or microcontrollers, which will create this replica of human brain. Right. And the 5th one, which is required, is the entire V2X. While a human can connect with the rest of the world, how this supercomputer without human intervention is going to connect to the car, infrastructure, and a vehicle, so that the whole system can work seamlessly in an automated manner. So this is how I
Correct.
divide this five architectures. And the most important factor is the security between these five architectures. Right now, if I take a typical car which exists today, these five domains, first of all, don't exist in totality, but even if they exist in a raw format, there is no secure connectivity between them. And that's exactly what you mentioned at the beginning. Benign hackers actually were able to enter into a car using a radio channel through infotainment based connectivity, and then all the five architectures were wide open without any security, and
Right.
that's what they could
So,
demonstrate.
So, Sanjay, just to be clear, what you're saying is now we've got these five different domains, right? Different parts of the car that do different things. Some of them are connected to the internet, some of them are connected to internet, some of them are just not connected, they're just hardware. Now, the only way you're saying to secure all of these is to make sure that the connections between these five domains are very secure. So, I mean, there's an analogy you've used in previous interviews that I'd like to bring up again is how you compare the security of the car to the security of a house. So could you
Right.
run us through that analogy a little bit?
Sure. Sure. So what NXP is doing, we are actually leading into how to build a secure, flawless architecture for a car which is unhackable, and hence provide full comfort to anybody who's using our cars, using our chipsets, that they are fully secure and they don't need to worry that somebody can hack into the car and control the braking or control the steering. So the way to think is there are four levels of security that NXP provides. The number one is secure interface. And the way to think about that is the first door in your house, the way to enter in your house through any interface, be it a window, be it a small chimney, or a main gate or a back gate.
Right.
If we are able to put a full security into that, that will ensure that nobody can enter your house at the first place. And if there is a valid door that is fully secure through proper authentication, that even if somebody is entering, that is a authenticated visitor that is entering into the house. Now, to relate it to the hacking that happened through a radio channel, the infotainment system was not secure, where the hackers were able to enter using the radio channel from Sprint, I guess. So NXP is going to provide fully secure interfaces that before you enter into a car, you will be addressed through a proper authentication, which will be both hardware authentication as well as software authentication, that no matter what, you cannot enter into the car. That is number one.
Okay.
The moment you enter into a car and you are able to break through that, in case of eventuality, you have a second very important thing which is called as a secure network.
Okay.
And secure network is something you can put an analogy that it is alleys in your house, or it is the corridors in your house,
Also,
which lead to
bottleneck areas that are easier to control.
exactly. And the way to understand in a car is, even before you enter into a secure network, there is a gateway that will be provided, which is the unique proposition that NXP offers in the architecture. And this gateway is something that will decide, it's like a firewall in our companies. Any internet connectivity that happens in any corporate goes through that firewall. So
Right.
we provide a specialized chips called gateway chips, which will ensure that any kind of traffic, once the data comes into the car, before going to any ECU, that will go through that gateway chip. This gateway chip is going to authenticate, again using hardware security, by having a latest and greatest standards around hardware security protocols, and the secure boot protocols, that nothing goes through that. This is the second one. And even if you are able to break that, the secure network comes into picture, which is nothing but a domain which is a powertrain domain connected to a domain which is infotainment domain. These two connectivity happens through this network. So anything that will be going through this network, there will be pre-sophisticated network. It's like you're walking on your corridor in your house. There will be predefined accesses that will be monitoring you.
Correct.
Who is walking on these corridors? So that the moment there is a first two doors broken, but the corridors cameras are going to find out that there is unsecure access. This is called as secure network. And the last but not the least is secure ECU itself. That the moment you want to open any door, Earlier, these doors did not have any. I mean, these houses, rooms did not have any doors, and doors did not have any lock. So a secure ECU is actually the last level of, you can say, the defense, where you have to break that lock. So our ECUs, our microcontrollers, will be pre-fitted with super hardware authentication, and it will be very difficult to break this fourth lock. And that is something that we provide
Okay.
as a 4 level of security, and we are very confident that since we are a unique provider of that, we actually give very strong security architectures for automotives.
So to be